Okay.
So you remember Frankfort, Indiana?
Yes.
That's where you were born?
Yes, I was born there.
Yeah.
Okay. What I do remember, and I must have been about 2.
Yeah.
I remember the creek in the back
In the house?
where we lived. I remember throwing stones in it and watching the ripples go from the center of the stone, which fascinated me. So that was a lot of occupation and time to just keep that going. That was fun. I remember a porch on the front veranda, the front porch of the house.
Was it a big veranda?
Yeah, and you know when those porch swings.
Oh.
Kind of could change up and swing back and forth.
But the veranda itself was very big?
Everything was big to me.
Yeah.
Remember, I was small.
You were small. Okay, good. Your brother said it was a very big veranda.
Well, he was small also.
He was also small.
So, yes, I remember that. I remember being carried in somebody's arms and they were shoveling snow off the top of a building and it hit us. And it was sort of frightening. I remember that.
That's pretty good.
And then I remember a fire engine going by. And that was pretty scary.
Really?
And then I don't remember it.
What's the earliest thing you remember about your dad?
My dad, at that age?
Yeah, as early as you can.
I don't remember a lot about him, tell you the truth.
When you were young.
At that.
How about your mom? Mom
was called Tina, and Aunt Marina was called Mom. So
really?
There was a little confusion there.
So that was Aunt Teresa.
Yeah.
Was called Mom. And your mom was called Tina.
And I called my mother Tina.
Well, that's kind of weird.
Well, it is kind of weird because my Aunt Teresa sort of took over because my mother was so young, you know.
Jeez.
Well, that is true, though. That's so funny.
So your mom was called Tina. You called your mom Tina.
Yes.
How long did this last? Till you were how old?
Probably until they moved out and separated into various homes.
Really?
And I found out Tina was my mom. I had to go with my mom. I didn't go with my Aunt Teresa.
How about your grandmother? What was she called?
She was called Ma.
Ma?
Mm-hmm. That's
not Nana or Grandma?
No,
or
Ma.
Ma.
Yeah, that's in Italian. That's for your mama, big mama, or whatever.
Ma.
That's just all-encompassing kind of a word for for the grandparent.
What'd you call your dad?
I call him Daddy.
Daddy, okay.
Yeah, always did.
Yeah.
So?
Tina. That's very strange.
Yeah, it's interesting, isn't it? When we were coming out to California, I remember Little and Big and Mary and Joe driving in the truck, the big moving van thing, and I remember that. They were rather vivid then, and we were in a touring car, and I wanted to go ride with them.
In the truck?
Yes. I didn't like the touring car.
I see.
They sort of got me in there once, finally, and then they didn't like me to be back there, and I got back into the touring car.
Was that sort of a big adventure, that whole moving out here
I guess
thing?
It was, but that's the only thing
I mean, to you? Was it scary? Was it...
no, it wasn't scary.
Or screwed, or what?
No, it wasn't scary. They camped. They camped up one time in a mortuary place in the bad weather. They brought them in, let them come in out of the out of the storm, and I remember that. And I remember Uncle Frank, this sort of a scaredy cat sort of guy. He's sort of nervous and high strung. Let's put him that way.
Really.
And he was nervous being in a mortuary.
Well,
I guess he sort of thought he was going to be put in a box.
Nice.
All that.
Well,
but anyway, I remember that, and there was some ha-ha-ha discussion about that later on as when I grew up, and they would talk about those little adventures. They had a lot of fun, I think, the adults.
Yeah.
That was an adventure for them.
But it wasn't, how long did it take?
God, I don't know, probably forever. I have no idea. Maybe a month. I don't know.
That's sort of the...
They came on terrible roads. They came over the Rockies.
Was it like Route 66, wasn't it?
Yeah, and they went over, the mountain and over this way.
And Rose almost died.
Rose had whooping cough, actually.
Whooping cough.
Yeah.
So Tony's wrong. She didn't have scarlet fever. She had
Well,
whooping
it
cough.
was whooping cough, and they really thought they were going to bury her on the way. But when they hit, Mama said when they got into Arizona, she had one terrible spasm of coughing, and they just thought that was it, and that was the last of it.
It
From
stopped.
that on,
Really?
she was okay in Arizona air.
Really, just stopped.
I would say that did it.
Hmm.
And as they came out, and she was over it at that point, right to the the edge, and then back again.
Wow.
So it was sort of hairy, but they had to go because they had everything planned to come, so they couldn't stay to take care of their sick baby.
Were there people in Long Beach waiting for you?
Yeah, Aunt Mary and Saduti. They had some rentals in there. They had a couple of rentals in a little grocery store business, and that's the first place I remember is living there. That's where Jeannie was born, your mom.
Yeah.
And I walked in on that.
Her being born?
Uh-huh.
Really?
Yeah, I remembered that.
Really?
And they whisked me out again. There was a lot of noise. A lot of noise and eyes and stuff going on.
Wow.
And I would just sort of flick, and think, whoa, get her out of here. And that's all I remember. And then there was a new baby the next day. Oh, wow.
Were you like 6, 7?
That was Jeannie. No. I probably was 4.
And this was like at the house? Or in the store?
In the house.
In the
yes.
house?
In the bedroom.
Really?
My parents' bedroom. She was born at home.
Oh.
Everybody was.
Oh, really?
Mm-hmm.
Bud and Annie and everybody?
I think they also were born at home. But see where that little story about Rose and Jean being Italian and Rose's Pennsylvania Dutch was, Mama used to call us, we were the Hoosiers from Indiana. Okay?
Yeah.
And then Rose
You and Tony.
Rose is the Pennsylvania Dutch. And then all the other 3 kids were her California puppies.
So how what were you doing in Indiana, then went to Pennsylvania? How'd she get into
I don't know. Daddy probably had a job there. They tried it and didn't like it. And
you're just there for real reasons?
I guess there for a bit, maybe a year. I don't know.
Oh.
There was time there.
Mm-hmm.
Certainly, that's where Rose was born. And let's say they were there 9 months. I don't know.
Yeah, well, long enough.
Yeah, that'd be long enough.
So you in Indiana, there was the whole household. Everybody was in one house there.
Mm-hmm. One big house.
Uncle Frank, Aunt Teresa.
An uncle that died in that house.
Who was that?
Salvador, I think, is his name.
I thought that was Saduti.
No.
Who was Saduti?
He was in California.
What was his real name?
And married. I don't know what that means. It's a duty.
I thought that would be Salvador. No? I'm going to find out who this guy is.
I don't know. They were the ones they rented the house from when we came to California.
Oh.
And Ciangelo was the other brother, and he lived right up the street with his wife.
Now, do you know when he died? You don't know.
I don't know, but he was in his 90s.
I mean, could he have died he was in his 90s, so
He was in his 90s.
that could work out. Because I think I remember him.
I could have been already out of high school by then. I think he passed away when they lived over on
Weatherly. Apparently.
On Weatherly. Yeah, he did pass away there.
I'm trying to figure out where the right.
So I don't know timing,
Yeah.
Mm-hmm.
So you guys got to California.
Mm-hmm.
Worked in a grocery store.
Pardon me? Who's
Mike,
grocery-
your father worked in a grocery store.
I don't know where he worked. I think he had.
Or was he doing the thing with the truck and the?
I think he was peddling then too.
Same thing.
Yeah. I think he did that all the time.
Uh-huh.
He also had a store and worked in the produce. Uncle Frank also had a store. I don't think he did much peddling. I think he did at one time.
Uncle Frank did the same thing.
Yeah, but he liked the store better.
What is it with these guys in fruit and what's with our family and all the fruit and everything?
Oh, they're just fruity bunch.
The fruity bunch. Never quite understood that.
Produce, I don't know. I guess they just.
Because Tony Kinsella in Sicily has a lemon orchard.
Yeah.
They're all into fruits and weird things. What is that?
Well,
I don't get it. All right. Okay.
they weren't a bunch of attorneys and doctors, that's for sure.
So you're in the household. You got Teresa. You got Aunt Teresa, Uncle Frank, your grandmother.
It was a full house.
Yeah.
It
So
was a
that's
full house. They had the
4,
coffin
5,
in the house.
6. What?
They had the coffin in the house of the uncle that died.
Yeah.
And I remember Big and Little saying, "Oh, we used to run by it,
The coffin.
Yeah. I didn't know the difference. What was going on much.
They were scared of it.
Yeah. Oh yeah. But anyway, everything happens in the house, and
Yeah.
all the relatives in this one big house.
Mm-hmm.
So they sort of hung together,
Yeah.
and I think it's marvelous. My grandmother, when we were all sort of young, Mama would, they'd have laundry day and all that, and Grandma would come over to help her
Do laundry.
do the laundry, and that woman circled around my mother, and she was not a young woman.
Your grandmother.
My grandmother, Daddy's mama.
Was she nice? Did you like her?
Oh, she's darling.
And she kind of protected
All of us.
all of the apron, right?
The apron. I love that one.
The couldn't get through the apron. That
No
was
way. It was the Iron Curtain. Man, nobody came after us when she did that. And she always wore an apron.
Uh-huh.
And then I recall when she...
She wear black? Was she...
yeah, most of those ladies that lose their husbands, Italian ladies, stay in black most of the
black
time.
forever?
Mm-hmm. And,
She speak English?
oh no. She could probably say yes or no or whatever, but that's about it.
And she... so how'd you talk to her?
I knew Italian. I could understand it.
Enough to talk to her?
Yeah. I used to wash her feet for a nickel. Do you like that one?
That's a bargain.
I thought it was.
Yeah, well...
I
wonder
I'd
if
do
she
anything
did.
for a penny.
Yeah.
But I got a nickel.
Kind of money grubbing it.
Right.
It's okay. I guess.
I was into it even then. But the story I like, though, is in Indiana about the religious pictures.
Oh.
The pictures of Christ on the wall, and
Yeah.
she'd have a pocket full of candy, which I didn't know, and she'd toss one up to the picture, and look, the dear Lord sent down to you. Oh, wow. That was pretty neat. And so that's how she kept these young ones amused.
They speak Italian around the house? They speak English, mostly.
I spoke both then,
Yeah.
mostly Italian, when I was a little kid.
Mm-hmm.
Because I understood it and I could converse in it. And, of course, there was a mixture with Mary and Joe, and Uncle Frank had to speak English for his business, and my
Yeah.
dad spoke some English pretty well.
So what do you mean as far as Mary and Joe? They
What?
spoke...
A what?
Mary and Joe, they both speak
Well,
Italian?
they went to school there.
So they had to speak English?
Sure. They learned English.
Uh-huh.
And the mother and father both spoke Italian at home
Yeah.
most of the time.
Do you know how your parents met?
True arranging kind of things.
Uh-huh.
That's about all I know about it. Mom was engaged to someone else,
Really?
and
In Canada?
in Canada,
Mm-hmm.
and she said she, as the engagement went on, it was getting closer, but she just didn't want to marry this man.
Mm-hmm.
And her mother just said, "You don't have to."
Well, I'm pretty liberated for that
I
time.
think so too. She said, just return your engagement ring, and you don't have to marry this man you don't want to. And I thought that was pretty darn nice of her mother.
Yeah.
In that day.
She must have been like 14 or 15 too.
Well,
right?
yeah.
I mean, she got married at 15, right?
Yeah. And then I guess they exchanged some pictures, some relatives in Indiana or someplace around started exchanging pictures of this hot lady in Canada. And
Because I remember I have a picture.
he liked her.
Yeah.
And he was darling too. and there was a picture he sent to Mama, and it said, "To my sweetheart,"
Yeah.
which was pretty wild.
Wow.
You know?
Kind of a torrid
And
male thing.
It was really cute. Really cute. Anyway, so she didn't have to marry the other guy, and she married that guy, and here we are.
So she was about 15 when they got married.
Oh, yeah.
Right?
That's why, Aunt Teresa sort of was older
Yeah.
and sort of took over because, Mom was just learning. She could learn not to do that too often.
Yes.
Because you're going to have lots of babies.
Oh, I see. That's how that works. Well, it took her a while to learn that. She had 6 of
Yeah,
them.
really. Well, she was a slow learner.
Well, slow on the upkeep.
No, I think it's great. There's no, it's neat.
Yeah.
Mm-hmm.
Well,
They didn't
so.
think about, can we afford it? It just happened. Just happened.
yeah.
Rose and I were sort of at points all the time.
Yeah.
And Rose was very precise
She's very precise.
and prissy. And everything had to be just right. And her hair had to be just right. And you go by and go flip it, and that was fun. That sort of started big. Or you go by and just blow it.
So you were kind of a snotty kid, I
Yeah,
guess.
I was.
Is that pretty much the
It
idea?
was sort of, I'm more of a tease than a bad
Yeah.
person.
Oh, well.
Yeah. I think teasing's more fun.
Uh-huh.
Well, Jeannie, there are 5 years between us.
Mm-hmm.
Jeannie, and Jeannie was sort of like a little kid, and
Yeah.
Rose was more my contemporary. There were only a couple
I
years
see.
between us, so we had a little bit more rivalry going.
Uh-huh.
Rose was a cute kid, had a little bit of a speech thing, mother and father and all that, and then they
Maybe
still.
she was one of the Kennedys.
Yeah, I guess so.
Oh, okay.
So then we started, she's Pennsylvania Dutch.
She's Pennsylvania. Oh, okay.
That's why she talks like that.
Oh.
But she was, she's a good little kid.
Rose?
Yeah.
Yeah.
I don't think she was a troublemaker. I was. When I grew up a little, and I could drive, they would always want to go with me.
The kids.
The kid, Rose and Jeannie.
Uh-huh.
And so, in order to go with me, they had to sit in the back seat on the floor.
Out of sight.
Out of sight, because I wanted to be a big shot in the
Because you
car.
were too cool
Yeah, I'm really cool.
to be driving your
Oh, God.
dumb sisters.
Yeah, but we still laugh about that one. that one is...
I don't think it's so much a we thing. Maybe you do.
No, they did. They always tell that story.
Uh-huh.
I think it's funny when I think about it. And they did it. But that's even the funnier part. Oh, Buddy and Annie were like little dolls
A little.
that you could play with. And dress them up and comb their hair and clean their shoes. And, they were like dolls.
Yeah.
You could play with them. And I loved them, and they were darling kids. They were, because, I was home at that time, and I was a lot older than they were. They came along at a strange time, really.
Mm-hmm.
But they were just another family in that family, They were just precious.
Yeah.
Precious.
Yeah, Tony was out of the house by then, right?
The what?
Tony was out of the house by then, right? When
Oh,
they came,
yeah.
When they came along?
Mm-hmm. Your mom was crazy about you kids.
Yeah.
I know that.
No, she's nuts, right?
And she really was. And she always had you dressed absolutely perfect. And Meg across the street said, God, when I look out of the window and I saw those kids and they were always looking so good and their socks matched and all that kind of thing. This is Meg.
Yeah.
And she said, Jeannie always had them, just right. And I said, well, that was Jeannie. And Jeannie was very precise and she was very orderly. Very orderly.
Well, I remember, as a kid, just sort of right after we moved into that house.
Mm-hmm.
And, sort of out, I was out in front doing something. And she came out on the porch and yelled, Chris, you little shit, get in the house. And Mag was out there and just, all just eyes. Just, oh my God, what's moved into the neighborhood?
What's
This woman
doing here? The wild bunch.
Yeah. And then 2 weeks later, I heard her going out on the porch, yelling at her kids in exactly the same way.
Exactly.
She thought that was a pretty good thing to.
Yeah.
So.
Anyway, she and Mag became very good friends. She made all the clothes and.
She made all the clothes.
Yeah. And then I got some hand-me-downs from Joe as I grew a little bit more and stopped making clothes, and I'd get some clothes that were cut down from Joe.
Mm-hmm.
And and I really didn't like all that, but that's how it was.
You weren't from a real rich family, I guess.
No,
Is that
not very
the?
much. And I even remember Aunt Teresa making our underwear, and.
Oh, I haven't heard this.
Yeah.
I haven't heard this.
Oh yeah, the little underwear and little.
Out of.
All of us girls, and then like a little thing, and you button it down and no sleeves, and
Mm-hmm.
that buttoned on your pants, and that was like a little romper set, but they were underwear.
Yeah.
And then our cousins had store-bought pants with elastic,
Wow.
and we wanted store-bought with elastic.
Yeah.
You'd have to unbutton your pants every time you had to go to the bathroom. And that was early on. I remember that when we were just little kids. Mm-hmm. Not much bigger than that. And then pretty soon we got store pants. With elastic.
With elastic?
Then we were really
That was,
little.
a couple months ago, I guess.
Yes.
Yeah. Okay.
But anyway, when we were little kids, they did all of that. They made all of our clothes. They made our underwear. Made everything. And Aunt Teresa was a seamstress, and she did a lot of sewing. So did Grandma.
Yeah.
Grandma did a lot of sewing and did that type of thing too. But they were poor, and her husband came over to this country to try to establish something for them. They had relatives here already.
Yeah.
And then he died before she got here. You know that story from Big.
Yeah. Appendicitis, huh?
And so there she was with her kids and here. So her sons took her in and took care of her for the rest of her life. Aunt
Folks.
Annie came out to visit.
From where?
From
Indiana?
She was in Indiana.
Mm-hmm.
And to see my dad, see the family. But we were all adults then.
Oh.
And I remember her.
Mm-hmm.
And I don't recall the other aunts. I just know that I know her, and she was the big, heavy-set one,
Mm-hmm.
and a real sweet lady.
Yeah.
She was darling. When you hugged her, you just sort of fell into her. You just sort of sink into her. She was dear. She was the one that, when she was at home in India, she was a very active lady. She belonged to lots of clubs. Very social lady, and.
Except the Ku Klux Klan. She didn't belong there.
Well, she didn't. The sheet didn't look good on her.
No.
So she didn't do that.
They couldn't find one big enough.
So anyway, she got on the bus and she's sort of sitting next to this guy, and so they're settling herself, and the guy turns over and says, "My, you're a big lady," and he said, "I can't help."
I love that. That's what your mother would say.
And it was so darling of her. She was just a sweet lady. She was about as wide as she was tall, but all enveloping, just when she hugged you, you just knew you got a hug.
There's no place else to go.
You just sort of chalk and hug,